Yo, what is up, my beach looking people? My name is Frank here on Beach Looking Guy, and welcome back to another skim tips video. So let's get some tips out there for y'all so you can get out there and shred. So first of all, I just want to say, guys, this video is brought to you by my brand Stoke Boat. If you guys want to help support me and just show some love, rep my merch, I'd really love it if you grab some stuff. That'd be sick. Anyways, let's get to the tips. When you go to hit the wave, what you naturally want to do is get your nose around, because you have to turn and come back the direction with the wave. So you have to get your nose around. When a lot of people go to turn and wrap a wave, they're not getting their tail around like they are with their nose. And because they might be too stale on the board, when you're hitting the wave, you're bringing your front foot around, but your back foot is essentially just digging into the tail. And when this happens, your board kind of just stuffs into the wave. You have the wave coming and all your pressure's on this back foot, and you bring your front foot around, but your back foot is like just stuffing pressure into the wave. And this is going to make it completely impossible to keep your momentum on top of the wave. If you got too much pressure on your tail and you're kicking your front around, the wave is just going to go right through you, and you're just going to kind of sink on top of the lip. So how to prevent this is essentially you want to, as you are hitting the wave, there's going to be these fluctuations of pressure. So you're going to come around and your nose is going to come up. But as your nose comes around the lip and you start to come back down the face of the wave, what you need to do with your tail is you need to kick, almost like swing kick your tail up and into the lip. So this is when you're going to put the pressure on to the nose. So originally you took pressure off the nose to get it up and over the lip. But now that your nose is coming down, you're going to need to put pressure on your nose to keep that momentum going down. And you're going to want to swing and let off some pressure off the tail so that the tail can stay on top of the wave and come up into the lip. You want your tail to be getting up into the top of the lip. And this is going to require, almost like I said, a karate kick. And it's going to require you to really put your hips into it. I like to really describe it as like a swing your hips into it type of technique. This makes a huge difference in being able to keep your momentum coming around. And so then what's going to happen is your tail should be getting up into the lip now, and all your pressure is on your front foot. What you're going to want to do then is, as you come down the wave, you're going to need to shift your pressure again and put pressure back onto the tail, because if you keep all your pressure on the nose as you're coming around, you're basically going to come down the wave and just nose dive at the bottom, and you're going to fall forward. So in order to prevent a nose dive and falling forward, you're going to need to readjust your pressure to the tail. And this is going to allow your rails and the tail to kind of grip the wave and give you control over the nose, so you can point the nose back in whatever direction you might be going. If you're just riding straight back up, or if you're coming all the way around for a wrap to barrel, having this pressure on the tail is going to give you the ability to shift your nose in whatever direction you need it to go. A lot of the times when you're catching a wave and you're coming back into shore, typically, let's say this is the shore, usually you have a slope, and this is the sand sloping down into the water, right? And you have the water, but when you have a wave, the wave also has a slope as well, and you're coming down that slope. And so you have a point where the water and the sand meets, and it's not flat like this, or it's not like this so that you can just perfectly slide down it. You got kind of like a concave situation here. And in order to not just come down the wave and pile drive into the bottom, you need to have that pressure on the back of your board so that you can come and hit the sand and ride back up it without nose diving. So as you come around, there's a lot of shifting of pressure to the back, because you're gonna want some pressure on the back to get the nose around. Then you're gonna want pressure on the nose to get the back around, and then you're gonna want pressure on the back to keep the nose up and out of the sand and the water. So that's really a big thing, is shifting your pressure as you're coming around the wrap. So the next thing is how you go through your wrap. And there's basically two ways to do this. There's like a pump turn, and then there's more of like a swing turn. So a pump turn is when you're coming around and you're basically chopping your nose up and down, pumping through your wrap. And this does work, but it slows down a lot of momentum, and it requires you to break a stance that might keep you more locked in and able to get into the barrel. Because ultimately, when you're wrapping a wave, you want to get back under the lip and you want to get that barrel. And when you're pump turning, it can be really hard to keep the speed and momentum and stance that you need to get into the barrel, because skimboarding isn't usually, and wrapping on onshore waves you're usually not dealing with overhead waves, right? You're probably more than likely dealing with like 2-foot waves, 3-foot waves maybe. And when you're dealing with such small waves, you don't want to be standing so tall. You really want to be crouched low and keeping your center of gravity low, and that way when you get around, you're already at the barrel's level. You don't have to crouch all the way down to try to get under it and fight to get your head a little wet. If you're staying crouched through your turn, then you can come around and you're already in position for the barrel, right? What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to swing your wraps around, really letting your hips in and swinging into the wrap, right? And avoiding the pump turn. It's something you're going to have to kind of think about as you're going through it, and in many cases it's going to be like a bad habit that you have to break. I've had many times where in the middle of my wrap I've kind of was going to go for a pump turn just because I was kind of what I was so comfortable and used to, but in that moment when it was all happening, I told myself, no, don't pump turn, swing into it. Just let the board and the rails do the work. You don't need to do all of this all the time. If you're using the right technique, your board will keep going. So really getting into a nice side slip and shifting out of it very quickly as you get to the wave, and swinging into the turn is really going to help get you around the wave fast enough and allowing you to stay low under the lip to get the barrel. One last shout out to my brand, Stoke Boat. I got shirts, hats, backpacks, and all kinds of stuff. Help your boy out, show some love, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I'll see ya.